Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be our monthly ASIC pricing update video. This is going to be for March 2025. And in this series, what we're doing is essentially we're looking for those deals, right? Ideally, we kind of go through a lot of the popular ASICs. We're looking for those price fluctuations. We're trying to see where the trends are, if they're going up, then they're going down. And for this month, they are continuing to go down. A lot have gone down quite a bit since even last month. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the future outlook and specifically look at which ones have gone down the most. And a lot of them are even some of the popular ones, right? So we'll talk about it. We'll give our thoughts. So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So market-wise, BTC is still not necessarily struggling, but we're just going sideways, right? It's been a lot of chop, a lot of essentially between 82, 84, all the way up to 87, 88, all the way down to the low 80s, high 70s, right? We've been chopping quite a bit. Currently, BTC is at 82,000. As of last month when we did it, which was almost exactly 4 weeks ago, we're at 84,000, right? So the chop is still here, and a lot of it has to do with fear of tariffs, right? It's a lot of the stuff in the macro that has been an extremely big factor, especially right now, because it looks like we might start getting near the end of this thing, or it could be the beginning of things getting worse with them, right? As far as we know, April 2nd is the deadline for those reciprocal tariffs, where he's kind of giving every country time to kind of make deals to kind of balance things out. We're going to have to see how it plays out. Looks like they're literally going to be waiting until the last minute. If things kind of stay as is, might get a little bit more rough, right? And on that same note, we're talking about ASICs. A lot of us are in countries where we have to import these things. Keep in mind what's going on with these tariffs. If I were in your shoes, regardless of who you're ordering from, I would personally hold off at least a few days, at least until April 2nd, until we kind of get some clarification. As we've seen, literally, it's day to day, where something can change drastically. Somebody pisses Trump off, and there's another 25% on top of the existing tariffs, right? So just keep that in mind. I would personally just wait a little bit just to get some clarity, because hopefully we will start seeing some more resolutions here in the coming days sometime this week. Again, April 2nd should be the deadline. We'll probably see things leading up into it, but it seems like everybody's just going to realistically wait till the last freaking second to do something, right? So keep those things in mind. Let's look at the ASIC mining profitability, and it's more of the same, right? A lot of it's just reflecting essentially last month prices of a lot of these coins are still in the same range. Okay, so not a whole lot has changed. The only standout would be the little Alio ASICs. A lot of them have been going down, and just because Alio itself has been struggling. Hash rate and difficulty hasn't been going up that drastically, although we do expect things to change here in the coming weeks. We do know now that the iceriver A0 is going to start shipping the second half of this month. So once those start come out, we can expect the hash rate difficulty to potentially at least tick up. Will it be something where it goes up dramatically? We're going to have to wait and see, because realistically, there's not a lot of interest in purchasing ASICs right now. So there's also the possibility that it may not go up a whole lot, right? Which has been playing out in the favor of anybody who did get the original little AE box from Gold Shell early on that first batch, right? Right now, a lot of those guys are probably getting pretty close to getting that return, right? Right now, it looks like they're going to have at least another month, which we didn't know we are going to get, right? Initially, the guesstimate was that the iceriver unit was going to come out essentially now, right? Going to be shipping now or as of a few weeks ago. But because of that, it's definitely playing in their favor, right? And this is kind of the risk to reward, because we don't know how it's going to play out, right? But realistically, that's the only one that's been kind of moving down. We can see that they're not on the top anymore. The iceriver A0 is now down to 11 bucks a day. Keep in mind, this is at a 10-cent kilowatt hour. And aside from that, it's just been struggle city, right? Pretty much it's not anything specific. Right now, the only thing profitable are the larger, newer, more efficient BTC ASICs and the script ASICs, right? Everything has been on the struggle bus. A lot of the Ethash ASICs, which is another popular one, have been struggling. Kaspa ASICs, pretty much all the altcoin ASICs, right? And it's just down the line. And again, until profitability, until the prices appreciate on these altcoins, this is going to be this way, right? So how long is it going to last? That's where you have to kind of make your educated guess, like how long is this going to last? And because at the end of the day, that's a big part of what dictates the prices on the ASICs, right? It's not just profitability, it's also interest in these things, right? But profitability is what tends to garner that interest. As things are more profitable, that's where the interest tends to go, right? So currently right now, some of these are still arguably definitely overvalued still, right? We'll talk about some of them here in a second, and those are some that really need to update with the market, but they're kind of playing the game where we're expecting things to turn around potentially here in the next few weeks, next few months. It's hard to say, right? With all the stuff going on in the macro, it's hard to say whether we're going to chop here for a few more months or if things turn around magically if we get deals on these tariffs, right? It's really hard to tell, and this is where you're kind of placing your bet, okay? So now let's look at some of these prices. We'll start with, again, the ones that have the more interest are the few that are profitable, right? And we'll start with the Volkminer D1 Mini. This one has gone down a little bit. This one has gone down about 10% or so. It's down to $15.79 in stock. This April batch is down to $13.49. They are offering a discount if you buy 4 or more. So realistically, I would definitely go for the April batch, right? Because it's going to be a few weeks and it's going to be a couple $100 cheaper. But that's kind of showing the downtrend, right? So it's up to you on what you think of the individual unit. For me, we'll talk about its main competitor, and realistically, arguably, I'd probably still go with the competitor, right? We'll talk about, we'll give our thoughts here in a second. This guy has gone down quite a bit. When we did our update last month, it was dipping right under 10K, right? So currently it's down to $83.99 for the 16 gigahash model. Just a few days ago, though, it was at 8K, right? Just as a few days ago, the market started looking like it was going up. Ultimately, literally just these past 2 days, it's been downtrending. And again, it's just leading up into these tariffs, right? So this can fluctuate. It's $83.99 right now. If things kind of continue down, don't be surprised to see it fluctuate a couple $100, right? Even go down back to the like $79.99. That would make it extremely appealing for most. Where it goes from here, it's going to be hard to say, right? A lot of it's just going to have to do with the coin prices and the action, right? And this is where you kind of have to come up with your own thesis of the market. Like, where do you see it going? Do you think we're going to continue to go down? Do you think we're going to continue to chop for a few months? Or do you think we're nearing the end of this little bear market that we're in, right? This is where you have to come up because that's going to dictate a lot of these prices. How much lower this guy can go, it's really hard to say, right? Realistically, fair price would be in this range, right? Like, it's going to be hard to see it go below 6,000. Is it possible if we have another month of this downtrend? Let's say this tariff situation gets horrible. I can see it happening, but also keep in mind, though, if that were to happen, what's going to happen with importing these ASICs, especially if you're in the US? You're going to get hit with those tariffs, right? So this is kind of where you have to kind of balance things out and have to kind of see that risk to reward and if it's worth waiting or not, or if this is a pretty good price. And realistically, if we consider the fact that this was the price pretty much at launch, not bad, right? So you have to kind of come up with your own decisions and what you think of it, right? So interesting one here, though. Again, this is one that definitely has a lot of interest. It has fluctuated greatly. We'll see how much more it fluctuates from here. In terms of comparisons, Crypto Miner Bros tends to be one of the more popular ones. So they're at 9,000. They do have coupon codes from their things, from their affiliates and such. So give or take 8,800. To me, that's kind of signaling that there is more room for this guy to go down from Nhash. Typically, Nhash is more of a significant discount from Miner Bros, so kind of keep that in mind. Again, there's going to be volatility here, especially in these next few days. Okay, so just giving a little insight, a little comparison. So the AlphaPex, the DG Home 1 also did go down. So the in-stock model is now down to $15.49 shipped. Okay, the May batch is only $100 cheaper. For that amount, I would definitely go here just because May batch typically, what does that mean? It typically ships the second half of the month, meaning you won't get it till end of May, potentially June, right? So for $100 savings, I would definitely go with this guy. And then what I was referencing to with the Volkminer, to me, the Volkminer, yes, it's more efficient. And a lot of it's going to depend on your scale, right? If you're only planning on getting one unit, for me personally, I would still go with the AlphaPex unit just because it's a more proven unit. Yes, the Volkminer is more efficient, but at this small of a scale, the difference isn't as significant. Okay, so for example, here we're at 2.2 gigahash for 500 watts versus the DG Home 1 being 2.1. So yes, it's 100 megahash less, 130 watts more. But realistically, 130 watts for potential unit that I would have more personal faith in, just because they kind of have been proving themselves. It's the same chips that's been in the DG1, DG1 Plus. I would personally just have more faith here, right? There's not enough of a difference. Even price-wise, extremely similar now at this price point, right? So previously, though, when the D1 was a significant discount from that home one, this guy was more appealing. Again, to go with these more inferior, potentially less reliable brands. In the long run, we don't know. Volkminer may end up being superior. But currently, from what we do know, for me to take the risk on these less known, potentially less reliable, durable brands, they have to be significantly cheaper to consider, right? If they're at the same price point, I'm going to pick reliability over that, right? Reason being, again, the game with ASICs is longevity. Although this thing is more efficient and better, it's not going to work out too well if the integrated PSU dies in 4 months and you can't get a replacement. Okay, so just that's kind of what goes through my head. They're not based in the US. It's not going to be easy to get replacement parts if this thing does need to get serviced, right? Versus AlphaPex does have a bigger network. They have slowly been increasing that. So that to me is what I look at, right? Because again, I'm not looking to maximize these 4 to 6 months. It's for me to purchase one of these things, whether it's a small ASIC or a larger ASIC, whatever, to be able to get a year, potentially 2 years plus out of that thing, right? So longevity is the name of the game. So for me, I weigh that heavily. Reliability, durability. At the end of the day, we don't know, right? Like I mentioned, Volkminer could be the superior unit overall after a year, 2 years from now. We don't know that. But right now, from what we do know, the information we do have, I would definitely pick the AlphaPex over the Volkminer. And then on the same note, right, I would pick the L9 over the AlphaPex unit for those same reasons, right? Unless the price is significantly different with a competitor unit, right? Just something to consider. That's just my mindset when I'm looking at these things, right? Kind of to each your own on that front. The DG1 Plus also did have a hefty discount. It is down to $6,500. Okay, so $6,600. And this is one that's obviously not as efficient as the L9 or the D1 or these other competitors, or even now their D2 that got announced, but it's the price point. So this is one of those things where we're mentioning is that because it's cheaper, that's what does kind of make it more enticing. Although realistically, like for me personally, I wouldn't go anything less efficient than this guy. Realistically, ideally, I'd rather get L9 or better, just because again, the L9, the now announced DG2, the Volkminer D1, and if there's any other off brands like the Fluminer and such, they all have that similar level of efficiency. That's going to be the next gen, right? So again, going beyond this bull market, looking forward into the bear market, efficiency is going to be the name of the game, right? Because now it's going to be those efficient units, potentially pushing out the less efficient units, which would potentially be the DG1s, the L7s, in this next cycle, right? Potentially, right? Realistically, it's going to be up to the prices, hash rate difficulty, but again, I try to look at worst case scenario and look forward for that extended period of time, right? And then this is one that had a significant drop here. It's the iPolo V2H. This is the Ethash ASIC. So these guys went down pretty significantly, right? They were down to $3,300, which arguably was one of the better prices, better bangs for the bucks in terms of efficiency, right? This thing is way more efficient than the competitors. The only one that's going to give it a run for its money would be the Jasminer X44 whenever that thing comes out. But again, we didn't hear anything at Disrupt, which was extremely disappointing, which to me is kind of giving the hint that it probably isn't going to be until the second half, possibly Q3, Q4 of this year, right? So kind of bad news because we're worried about now. We're trying to maximize this bull market as much as possible. So realistically, bang for the buck wise for Ethash ASICs, it's not a bad deal, right? Again, this thing was $3,000 a few weeks ago, down to $2,100, 3,400 mega hash, 475 watts. For comparison's sake, again, like Miner Bros, they still have this price up here. I don't know if they haven't updated, if it's specifically through NHash, but reach out to your favorite reseller, whoever you use. I personally use NHash. Do have referral links in the description. And again, it's just because it's my preferred vendor, but you do you go with whoever you trust, right? So reach out to them. Potentially there is a reprice. They just haven't updated, or it's just they're significantly higher, right? It's hard to tell. But to me, it's probably a specific discount with this model, just because, again, NHash also hasn't repriced these, right? Or realistically, iPolo hasn't repriced these. These, considering the V2H's price, need to go down now, right? So, because again, this guy's only 1,200 mega hash, 165 watts. So it's about a third of the other guy, yet it's only about half the price, right? So you're definitely a heftier premium. This guy realistically should go down to like $6.99, somewhere around there, and at that point, pretty appealing, right? Same deal with like their larger unit, the 10 gigahash unit. It is in stock now, but again, definitely needs to get repriced. Essentially, this guy is about 3 of those V2Hs, which would bring you about to about $6,000, and this guy's $8,900, right? It's more relevant to the previous price. $6,000, so let's get a little bit more appealing there, right? So they definitely need to reprice that though. And then when we compare it to the competition, the reason we're saying this guy is fairly efficient, the X16Q has been one of the more tried and true models, 1950 megahash, 620 watts, right? So the V2H, again, for reference, it's less wattage than this guy, period. It's only 475 watts and then 3,400 megahash. So not exactly double, but pretty damn close. And currently for only about $600-700 more. Okay, so this guy definitely needs to get repriced also, especially considering profitability, right? These guys are barely break even, in some cases at a loss depending on your electric, but it's one of those that it's easy to run, let it stack like mine's doing its thing. I'll do an update here probably in the next week or so. But at $14.49, considering the competitor's price, it does need to go down further, right? Realistically, arguably even breaking that $1,000 barrier, right? So we're gonna have to wait and see. So this one, to me, it's definitely a little bit overpriced. If you're looking for any Ethash ASICs, it's definitely not a bad deal. Let's continue on. The E11, this is one that definitely needs to get repriced. So currently they only have the 9500 mega hash now, 2470, $6,000. And again, comparing efficiency, this is about the equivalent of 3 of the iPolos, the V2Hs, which again would bring it to in the same price range. The difference is the efficiency, right? The V2Hs, again, they're under 500 watts, multiplying that by 3, 1500 watts, in comparison to the 2340 here. Okay, extremely significant difference. The only appeal would be here is if you have extremely cheap power and then this guy being cheaper, right? So this guy needs to go like sub 4,000, needs to go like 39.99, 3,500, somewhere in that range, just to even be competitive with the V2H's price. Okay, arguably needs to be even lower than that considering profitability of this thing, right? But that's just kind of the way I see it, right? So for me right now, this guy definitely way overpriced, right? Let's continue down the list, and these guys also have dropped, right? Last time they were like $1,900. They're down to $1,500 for the KS5 and 20 terahash units, and a lot of it has to do with the announcement of the KS7, right? The KS7 is coming in quite a bit heftier at 30 terahash, so it is putting pressure on these guys. The reason they're lowering their price is because arguably this guy is still more appealing, although the new guy is more efficient. It's just price wise, you can get 3 of these units for the equivalent of 1 of those iceriver units, right? So that guy isn't going to come out for another few weeks. We're going to have to wait and see how they sell, right? To me, they're probably not going to do so well at those prices. To me, because of the lower price on this guy, they probably do need to come down, right? But we're going to have to wait to see what the anticipation is, how well they sell, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to drive it. If it's selling okay at that price, they're going to keep it at that price point. But if sales are not too great, they're going to have to lower it to kind of compete here, right? So realistically, you'd have to have a pretty hefty price just because of where Kaspa's current price is at, right? If Kaspa goes back up to 10 cents here in the next few weeks, obviously that changes things, but based on current sentiment, current profitability, the KS7 is going to be overpriced, right? So the KS5, $1,500, not a bad deal. Is the one I would buy this late in the game. Again, unless your goal is to mine Kaspa all the way through, you have cheap electric, and you're trying to upgrade your previous units. You're like upgrading your KS5Ls or your old KS3s or whatever, then this is a good time to upgrade, right? But for me, if you're starting from scratch, you're starting brand new, unless you have extremely cheap power, this is kind of a tough sell just because of not only the market price, but it's just Kaspa's emissions, the hash rate difficulty continue to go up, a lot of those factors, right? Again, 2 years ago, different story. Now, because of the timing of the market, that's just the viewpoint, right? Another one that did go down actually also is the Volcaminer D1. So the 16.2 gigahash is in stock and it's $88.99. The Beast one though, the 18.5 at 4,200 watts, is $9,200. So this one did go down, but again, arguably inferior product in comparison to the L9, and it's even at a slight premium, right? For me to consider the less reliable unit, potentially, again, at the end of the day, we don't know, but from what we know, I would definitely pick the L9 over this guy. It needs to be priced significantly lower to consider, right? So for me, arguably, if this guy is if the L9's at $8,000, this guy needs to be like at 6,500, 6,000 to kind of consider taking that risk, right? For it to be in the same price range and actually more expensive, that's a no-go, dog, right? So this is one that has been available. We haven't seen too many reviews and such on it just because, again, the price point does not make sense for you to be the newer brand. Nobody really knows. We don't have parts availability. Repairability is going to be difficult. And yet you're charging a premium. No. So obviously the market's going to demand the price, though. If they're not selling, they're going to be forced to go lower. Will they go lower? We don't know. Or will they stay in the same price range even when Doge price goes up and the profitability goes up? More than likely, that's probably going to be the name of the game, because as Doge goes back up to 25 cents, 30 cents, what's going to happen? The L9 is going to go back up to 10,000, 12,000, 14,000, and then they'll, instead of going up to 14, maybe they'll go up to 10, 11, and then that's how they'll kind of discount. Most likely, if I were them, that would be my mindset, I guess. I would think that's what they're going for, but who freaking knows? But again, paying a premium for an inferior product, that's a no-go. Right, so overall, trends are going down. It's going to be hard to say if these are going to be some of the lows, right? Realistically here in the coming days, we'll find out what's going on. If the tariff situation gets worse, the macro gets worse, then next month may look even a little bit better in prices. But again, if things start to recover, then I would expect the inverse, right? So at this point, these are pretty decent prices, and again, a lot of it also, not only the price points, again, you have to consider where we're at in the cycle, right? Time is not on your side at this point anymore. If we peak like the typical cycle, it's Q3, Q4 this year, time is kind of running out, right? So just kind of consider those factors as you make your decisions, guys. But please let me know in the comments, guys, what are you guys doing? Are you guys completely done with the ASICs? You guys just buying, which is what I'm doing, right? I haven't really been buying much. As far as terms of hardware, it's been more buying the coin, just essentially DCAing, right? These prices have been a nice little treat this late in the cycle. Was not expecting to get this kind of an opportunity. Arguably, this is those times. And also, if you're considering ordering anything, just keep in mind, wait until we get some more clarity on those tariffs, right? Depending on your country, obviously. But let me know in the comments below, guys. What are you guys doing? Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I am out.